I am the woman who is in this photo here that's gone viral. And many of you have seen this picture, and it's been viewed by well over 50 million people. And it says, a mother goes viral for saying that her sons will lose their inheritance if they have a child outside of marriage. Makes sense, right? However, I want to address the outrage and criticism that has gotten because many of your responses, in my opinion, are intellectually lazy. People keep saying I'm trying to control my sons, yet many of these same people will spend thousands of dollars on a baby shower for their daughter, knowing that she's just about to be a baby mama. No husband, no plan, no legal or financial protection. But you are concerned about control? First off, speaking from my own personal experience, not just observation. Despite being with my son's father for 5 years, I did not marry him. And that distinction matters. Once the relationship ended, so did his obligation to me. So, to my point, even if a marriage ends in divorce, being an ex wife means that the original intent was for family structure and performance and not having a child by a man who was free to leave without any obligation or responsibility, therefore abandoning the household. So the intent matters. There is a fundamental difference between being in a relationship that failed and being in a situation that was never structured to ever succeed. So for the record, parents do not control their adult children. That is not even realistic. You can raise your children, you can teach them values, you can set expectations, but once they are adults, they make their own decisions. Full stop. If my sons decide they don't want the inheritance, then that's their decision. It does not require me to remove any standards or pretend that the outcomes don't matter. That's not control. That is conditional allocation of resources, something that every successful institution operates on. Scholarships have conditions, trust funds have conditions, loans have conditions. But when parents apply conditions, all of a sudden it's some type of manipulation. What people really need to be understanding and what they're actually reacting to, in my opinion, is a lack of accountability. So let's address the fact that most men avoid child support, not only because they don't want to support their children, but because they believe that the mother is going to benefit from the money. But when a man is an ex-husband, he is not a baby daddy. Ex-husbands are legally and socially expected to provide for not only their children, but for the women in the household that they left. So marriage creates a different type of obligation that being a baby maker and falling in love does not. And the distinction matters economically, it matters legally, and it matters psychologically. So now let's talk about single motherhood, and let's do this without emotion. We have normalized being single mothers to the point that when I said that I want to put parameters around my sons, it was met with hostility. Instead of being fathers and husbands and wives, we want to be baby mamas and baby daddies. And this is not a moral argument. This is really a structural argument. Children raised in two-parent households have a better advantage. That's just the facts. Whether it's marriage or same sex, the success is not limited to just heterosexual marriage. Okay? So, excuse me. Having two people who are committed and working together is what the common denominator is in this structure. So here's another uncomfortable truth. Parents are socially rewarded for funding this chaos, right? Nobody has a problem spending $5,000 on a baby shower, but the minute someone says that they're going to put financial discipline and planning and structure in place, now all of a sudden it's called abuse. And let's stop pretending that children do what their parents want them to do anyway. If that were true, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Your daughter will have a child with a man that you would not choose for her. And she don't care what you think. And my sons don't always care what I think. And my sons could follow my rules or they cannot follow my rules. That is their decisions. That has nothing to do with what I have in place for my family. Awareness means expectations are very clear, but so are the consequences. So now let's talk about inheritance, right? Because a lot of people keep reducing this to just a money conversation when it's actually about legacy. Everybody wants to talk about generational wealth until it's time to talk about structure. And that doesn't make any sense. Inheritance is not just cash. Inheritance could be life insurance, a trust, real estate. Inheritance could be an income producing asset like a business. And life insurance ensures that your children aren't financially destabilized when there's a death in a family, right? That's how families reduce dependency, and that's how families avoid crisis-driven decisions, right? That's how family builds stability and generational wealth. So most families don't pass down wealth because we ain't never acquired assets to begin with. Instead, we pass down struggle. So I would like to restructure the conversation, right? And one thing that I want to talk to you about is the fact that you can invest in an asset for as little as $500, right? And I'm going to be hosting a webinar that's going to be launching at the beginning of February, where you can follow me on Nika Cherie, click the link in my bio. But at some point in February, I'm going to be hosting a free webinar to teach you about actual legacy building and generational wealth, right? And if we want to be honest, more women would not be carrying the full responsibility of their children alone if we had structure and planning around parenthood and actual wealth building. See you in the webinar.